Hello, and thank you for joining today's webinar, From Educators to End Users, Leveraging Holistic Approaches and the Importance of Belonging Across the Tech Ecosystem. This is the fourth webinar in the Making Our Strong Community Stronger initiative, which promotes diversity, equality, and inclusion within the mainframe industry. My name is John Mertic. I'm the Director of Program Management here at the Linux Foundation and Open Mainframe Project. DEI, especially both personally to me, but also within the tech industry, is very, very important to both the Linux Foundation and the Open Mainframe Project. And we're really excited to be a part of this initiative, along with other sponsors, including Broadcom, IBM, Rocket Software, Tech Channel, and Virtual Z Computing. Today's webinar is being recorded, so attendees will be muted during the panel discussion. But if you have a question or a comment, please use the chat or the Q&A. And if you've missed any of the other webinars, you can find them on the Open Mainframe Project YouTube channel, where this one will be uploaded later today. With that, I would like to introduce our moderator, Dr. Gloria Chance. Dr. Chance is the CEO of the Messiah Group and an innovative leader who believes in the spirit of creativity to enhance work environments. We're thrilled to have Dr. Chance here to introduce our panelists and begin today's discussion.
Thank you, John, and welcome everyone to a new installation of Making a Strong Community Stronger. It's my honor and pleasure to be here with you today as we talk about belonging across the tech ecosystem. You know, our goal in these moderations and panels are to have authentic conversations that teach skills that you can walk away with and immediately implement. So, as I always ask, I have two things I want you to do: to pay attention and to find at least 2 or 3 things that you can take away with you today that you can begin practicing immediately. And so let's talk about belonging. Belonging is defined as a unique and subjective experience that relates to yearning for a connection to others. That's in its simplest forms. We know, most of us who were forced to take Psych 101, that the hierarchy of needs has belonging as the second human thing that we all crave for after we're surviving. So belonging is a real important human thing. From a DE&I standpoint, we have to ask ourselves, what does it mean in DE&I? Is it any different? And the answer is really no. And yet, because now we're talking about belonging in a system, it makes it a little bit complicated for us. So belonging in DE&I is a feeling of security and support when there's a sense of acceptance, inclusion, and identity for a member of a certain group. So if we want an individual to feel comfortable, and we've talked about this before, we want them to start to bring more of their authentic selves to work. And what does that mean? What does that look like? So I want you to be listening to, when you feel you belong, this is how a person feels. They feel connected to others. They feel supported and respected and valued. They feel trusted, listened to and heard, appreciated, proud of themselves and the others around them. That might sound really simple, but it's difficult sometimes to show. And as we think about it, we've all joined groups. If you wanted to be a systems or network engineer, you did the work, either the college or the certifications to join that group. Many people do the work to join groups, but they don't get the honor of being accepted without hassle. And so as I introduce the panelists today, I also want to honor the fact that we ironically, and this did not happen on purpose, we have an all-Black panel. And that is exciting. And I want to celebrate in the month of Black History, because we asked the sponsors, hey, we need customer end user panels. Can you recommend one of your best clients to be on this panel? Each company individually recommended a panelist, and each one of them are represented here today with the excellence and the story of how it's not always easy. And we know it's not easy for anyone. But when you have people who have to climb mountains and hills and valleys and shores, swim shores that other people don't have to, that's what makes the story even more fascinating. And so as we celebrate Black History Month with a panel who was supposed to be in November, but now they're this month, and we're honoring heroes in the Black history, I want to honor these individuals for their daily journey, their daily showing up, stepping up, and being leaders who are going to give us and impart on some amazing information for you today. And so let's go ahead and get started with our panelists, Shannon Du, Nicole, Dr. Bullock, and Byron. Introduce yourselves to the audience, please.
Yes, thank you so much for having us today. I just want to say again, really thank you for joining us today, and hopefully we have a great conversation. Open Mainframe Project, Linux Foundation as well. I appreciate this opportunity. My name is DEI-B. I am a corporate vice president at New York Life, and I also serve on the Share Organizations board as well, under the leadership development side. And at New York Life, I lead teams of engineers. So this is engineers on the mainframe side and other platforms. So that's where I, the mainframe space is a big part of my daily responsibility. And I like to also share from a Black history standpoint. One individual that stands out to me that had a big impact in my life is Kobe Bryant. Due to a lot of what he stood for, both on and off the court. A lot of his mentality I like to apply from a day-to-day standpoint as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole. I am an alumni of the Broadcom Vitality Program. I currently work as a systems engineer at Charles Schwab, where I support Datacom DB product and DB2 on ZOS. I'm excited to be on this panel.
Thank you, Nicole.
Hi, my name is Gina Bullock, and I'm an assistant professor and associate chair in the Computer Systems Technology Department at North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University. And my role with the mainframe is I teach and prepare students to work in the mainframe industry.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Bullock. Byron.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Byron Smith. I am a senior mainframe security engineer at M&T Bank. I am also an IBM champion, also a part of the Shared Security Committee, as well as M&T's internal diversity, inclusion, and belonging tech ambassadors, where we focus on diversity efforts and initiatives just like so. And one thing that I'm very proud of, is because Black History Month, I'm repping my school, which is at HBCU, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is where my mainframe journey actually began. So it's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to having a conversation as well with everyone here on the phone and you guys that are out there listening. We want to hear from you guys. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Dr. Chance.
Thank you so much. So you can see we have this amazing, incredible panel. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're talking about the mainframe ecosystem and how we can have a holistic approach, meaning that we don't want this, as we talked about, one and done. We want a partnership. We want things to grow so that they become holistic. Because think about this, the fact that each one of you ended up on this panel without planning it shows that we've made some progress and that you existed in your companies and you were available to talk to us. So let's talk about, though, some of the underlying issues that you experienced that may have held back your progress somewhat to get you to this place. So as we've learned about panelists in the past, can you say a little bit as we get started in this conversation about sort of where you grew up and and how that brought you here today?
Yeah, I'll start. Thank you. So my process has been, let's say, transitions throughout my life that I've went through, and it's not really intentional. It's been, when I first lived in the Bronx, and that experience was great, pretty diverse mix. And I moved into the suburbs of New Jersey, and I was clearly a minority, and it was a shocking experience to me. And on top of that, my parents being born and raised in Nigeria was another layer of diversity that made my journey a bit more challenging. Then, after my early childhood, I decided to go to college at Rutgers University Newark campus. And it was a great decision because, I felt I felt more comfortable. It was more diverse. It was actually top 10 at that time in the country as far as diversity. So it was great. We all studied together, we partied together, we played sports together. It was a great experience. Then, graduating, I go into corporate America, and I felt lonely again. I felt imposter syndrome. There wasn't anyone who's looked like me that I could lean on, or maybe even have the same experiences I did. So it was also challenging. Then eventually I was able to find someone with a similar background as me, and was in the corporate environment for several years at the time, and that individual became my mentor. And it was great for me to have that support, that back end, provide the guidance that I needed, and most importantly, the tools that I needed to navigate this world.
Yes, Shenandoah, those are excellent points. And remember, he looks like an African-American woman. I'm sorry, you don't look like a woman, a man. Apologize for that. I caught myself. He looks like an African-American man, and yet he is from Nigeria and did not experience the same thing in some cases that African-American people do, because he's originally from Africa. So I want to make that distinction about skin color does not represent who you are, and also does not represent the challenge and opportunities you're going to have. But you also speak, Shenandoah, to the ups and downs of being lonely, like throughout the career. Dr. Bullock, what would you say about your experience growing up in America and being an African American?
Well, I experienced a little different, came from different areas, but I originally grew up in a large family in Jersey City, New Jersey, and where we lived was not safe. But I did go to Catholic school and most of my life, and I was raised in a single parent home, and mom worked 3 jobs, but she made plenty of time to engage and had a strong presence throughout our life. And I was the first generation to go to college, and my education was great in high school, and I had a lot of general skill sets I learned at a new level, being that I was in Catholic school in Jersey. I learned at a different level and a new level, and went to a predominantly white school, but lived in a Black neighborhood. And that was a little different at first, but I got through. When I moved to the South, I was faced with the difference of culture. Knowing how to effectively communicate in the South to be heard. My dialect was different. I was misunderstood, and learning how to adapt to the culture. Things was much slower, adapting to friends. And this was the first place I heard the N-word from in North Carolina. And this is the biggest difference from New Jersey, because I never heard that word at all.
That's so interesting and fascinating, Dr. Bullock. I have a very similar experience growing up in New York, and also really not experiencing kind of the racial issues until I moved south either. And so that is very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing it. And so let's talk about, as we continue the stories, about connecting with others. Connecting with others is a very important part of feeling that you belong. So we've already heard from Dr. Bullock and Shenandoah how they've had ups and downs of connecting with others based on a number of different things. So Nicole, given that you are also from Nigeria and not African American, can you share with us how the differences in culture impacted your experience?
Yeah, sure. I know that before moving to the state, I knew the United States is a very diverse country. And though I grew up in Nigeria that had a lot of tribes and cultures, I knew it was not going to be the same experience for me. So I came with a very open mind to connect and learn, but it's definitely been a roller coaster experience, I must say. I believe it's because I'm still developing myself to get rid of my biased thinking and encourage belonging in my community. But normally you would expect that you would only feel that sense of belonging from people that are with a similar race or culture as yourself, you know. But for me, it has been quite different. I have felt more welcomed and valued by people from a different background and culture and race than myself. I found them interested to know about my country and my culture. They adore my accent, which was initially something I was insecure about in the past. So I strongly believe that everybody deserves to be treated with honor and respect, and our differences can only make us stronger if we don't try to ignore it, but welcome learning about it.
Yeah, Nicole, we adore your accent. So there you
Thank
go.
you.
And I think that that's something we always want to remember, that people who are different or unique, sometimes they're worried about standing out. Most people don't really want to stand out. They just want to fit in. And so thank you for that perspective, Nicole. And Byron, what has been your experience in the same vein as you've taken the journey in your career? Byron, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's I would say my experience has been unorthodox, but also eye-opening. You know, coming from Baltimore City, going to a small HBCU like Maryland Eastern Shore, you know, it was like I'm getting dropped in the middle of nowhere and have to figure it out on my own. And with my journey, you know, I wanted to be different. So I had a conversation with my mom and I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is new to me. And she said, be yourself. Regardless of race, color, background, anything, respect yourself and make sure you respect others. So I took that and I ran with it. And when I got to, you know, the IBMs, my internships and et cetera, you know, coming from Baltimore City, it was really a big deal for me. Being a first gen, working on the mainframes, it was a big deal. So it's kind of sentimental because the first friend that I actually friended at IBM, he was a California Polytechnic mechanical engineering student. He was not Black. He was a different ethnicity. I can't recall, but he and I built a genuine relationship because we were the youngest in our departments throughout the building at the time. And it was challenging. I'm just going to be completely transparent here because I want, you know, everyone to know that it is challenging sometimes. It is a lot of mental. You have to figure out, do I belong here? Why am I even doing this? And I made the decision to keep doing it because I like what I do. And it wasn't my passion that kept me going. It was my motive. It was the motive to say, you know what? I'm not the only Black person that's going to be working in this industry. So what can I do? Become the standard or try to live up to the standards of my predecessors who were there before me and who's going to be there after me. So it's been challenging, but it was very unorthodox, but very worth it, honestly, Dr. Chan.
Byron, thank you for that, because you just also identified that there are some people who have a motive and they're okay with standing out or being different. I would say that I was one of those too, that I was okay with being different and out of the box. But that takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of self-knowledge, and it takes a lot of falling, sometimes quite honestly, on your face, right? When you look and there's no one coming to support you or give you advice or help you feel that you're a part of. So thank you for that. So as we move on, you know, some organizations, to that point, Byron and everyone, they have well intentions, right? They see people like Byron and others and they want to help. However, we all agree that oftentimes people aren't really sure, including those who are being helped, like, how do we get along and how do we make this conversation about an ecosystem work? So Shannon Dew and Dr. Bullock, what's your view on the importance of this conversation and action in the mainframe industry today?
Yeah, I would start by saying if you're a leader, you're a manager, right? You play a big role. And, you know, our jobs as leaders and managers is to develop the teams that we support, the people, right? You want to elicit that peak performance. And it's hard to do that when people don't belong, right? So, you know, and especially in the mainframe space where to me, there's so many opportunities there's also risks as far as, from a retirement standpoint and the need to continue to grow the platform. So again, there's a big opportunity for leaders to drive, these conversations and also be extremely mindful of the type of environment that people like myself had to go through, and ensure you're providing some support, right? Get yourself educated, have candid conversations, right? Because that's exactly what I needed, and that's what essentially helped me.
Oh, thank you so much for that. And Dr. Bullock, hold on for one moment. I want to switch over to Byron. Byron, what's your take? What do you think are the most important thing, some of the things that the mainframe industry can do today?
I'll say this, Dr. Chance. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
I'll say, before we can affect the future, we have to understand our past, and which we have already. We are in 2022. So as we move forward, instead of trying to hiring the best and trying to increase metrics or any other thing, how about we start looking within our organizations, talking to each other, having a genuine conversation about what drives you before we try to reach out and have people come into our industry. Because what I've noticed over the past couple of years in diversity since I've been involved is we're so used to looking at, okay, we got to figure this out. We got to figure out this metric. We got to figure out how many people we need here. We got to buy this. We got to buy that. How about we take a step back and go the old school way? Let me have a conversation with you. Why do you want to be here? Why are you working in the mainframe industry? Okay, you want to be a security programmer? Okay, let me teach you this. Do you have a foundation here? I really think we're looking at this century or longer issue trying to solve it in 1 or 2 days. We cannot. We have to do it piece by piece, one day at a time. So my advice right there is start within. Start with your current employees, regardless of ethnicity, background, or anything. Ask them what makes them come to work every day so we can make sure others do the same.
Wow. So kind of take a pause and regroup and get real, because this is about being human. This conversation and all of the things you're going to see, we keep repeating. How do we need to include people? How do we need to make people feel comfortable? It is about our humanity. And so, Dr. Bullock, when you look, you are working and teaching at an HBCU. I used to be on a national board that supported HBCUs. And I recall back not long ago where HBCUs did not have enough money to operate. There was always an opportunity, a struggle. And today, finally, HBCUs are getting the support and the acknowledgement of the hard work that they've been doing all this time. And it's really great to see that with the massive amount of funding being available. But how do you, being in that space right now, how do you suggest a more holistic way that can be a win-win? Because sometimes I think people might approach HBCUs in a way that might feel disrespectful. So in terms of, hey, we know you need the money, or here, take this money and then go away, when what you really want may be greater partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about your experience here?
Yes, we have some great experiences, and then we have some that just doesn't meet the mark. And I wanted to highlight some companies, and we have a whole sector of companies that we actually work with who has started partnerships with us and actually is making it work. So we have Cisco Academy. They are a big part. Cisco is a big part in our department. They offer scholarships. Here recently, they just gave 100% to all of my students in my CCNA class that's taking the CCNA. They bring in guest lectures every semester. They also do instructor certifications are required for all of their classes. And then they also have a platform that you use as well that is for students that is called NetAcad, that has all the hands-on labs, videos. So basically they're preparing them for the future. Now, I can't leave IBM out because IBM is a major part, and it's only 9 of us that cover mainframe. And A&T is one of the schools and one of the only HBCUs that's doing it right now, with the help of some that just joined on. But with IBM, they offer the academic initiative, and they also include, we have Red Hat. We have a whole academy of Red Hat. We have labs. We have student training. We have badges. They actually get certifications from IBM for free. So, and it's just not in just the mainframe platform. They offer it in various avenues. And that is just 2 of our companies that I mentioned. And we have several more that we actually partner with. But it's a flip side to this. And not all companies exemplify partnership. And I know when the pandemic hit and everybody got all excited about diversity. So I want to touch some sensitive subjects to you. We're looking for partnership here at the university. It requires a genuine partnership. So please do not cut. You can't give and cut some things and walk away. So we gave it to them, we walk away, it's fine. We did it, okay? Training has to be comprehensive. How to train them. You gotta actually know how to train us, how to work with the culture. As you basically have to understand the diverse audience that you're working with. What are you doing to ensure the program is efficient and works? Partnership is across the ecosystem, and that's when real partnership happens. Attitude of doing us a favor is negative, and a counterproduction is not partnership. Focus on HBCUs is good, but your attitude of gratefulness can be turned off. Differences in how students are treated versus non-HBCUs. And basically understanding your culture. Understand that in HBCUs, you're going to have students struggling in the importance of taking care of their family members. They have a lot of things that they have to do in school. So offering scholarships, being a part of what is needed to make it happen.
Thank you, Dr. Bullock. Wow, that was a lot. And I'll try to summarize is that it's not easy, that the support is appreciated, but it needs to be, there's the word again, authentic. Are you coming in a way that is helpful and supportive? Not, let me give you a handout, or that seeming that it's a handout and I really don't want to be engaged. I'm just being performative. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do as a corporation. Those things people can see and smell a mile away, and it's important to know that if you're going to step up and help, if you want to do good, just be good, be authentic, and you will learn and also grow, and everyone will win. And so if you have a comment about this, if you could put it in the chat. We will go ahead and try to entertain, if we can, a couple of chat comments. So go ahead. Thank you for that, Dr. Bullock. Very, very profound and important information. So Nicole, you have had a great educational experience in this ecosystem. And an attribute of belonging is feeling supported, respected, and valued. So can you tell us about your experience, Nicole, in the
Sure.
education ecosystem and how you felt supported and valued?
Sure. Yeah, going through the Broadcom Vitality program really helped me a lot. I was part of a very diverse group. I later found out that my managers did that intentionally because I was the only Black person and I did not even have a computer science background. So I kept wondering what I was doing there. But even at that, I never felt out of place. My opinions mattered and everybody's opinions mattered too. Broadcom was very curious about where I came from, Nigeria, was very curious about our cultures. And they also did the same thing with the other cultures in the room. They were consistent with seeking feedback from us on how the program was going and how we were doing during the program. They encouraged us multiple times to build relationships and actually made me to see the value of relationships. Every manager was very accessible. I never had anyone speak to me slowly, the way they do when they feel like you don't understand what you're saying, like you're dumb. I never had any of my managers speak to me slowly, like it was difficult for me to comprehend. They even supported me outside of the program, which I found that was amazing. The program helped me a lot. It cured some stereotype and biased thought that I had in me. I think overall, participating in the program helped me see things from different perspectives because working in a diverse group exposed me to different ways of thinking. I learned strategies of addressing situations that I've never learned before, and I saw the value of working in a diverse team.
Wow, thank you for that, Nicole. I think we all kind of grinned when you said about people not speaking to you slowly. Again, that's unfortunately something that diverse people, especially Black people and immigrants experience, that either the speaking more loudly or slowly is supposed to get the message across when, we understood what was going on in the beginning. It is, again, about humanity and encourage people, if you want to feel belonged by being respected and supported, and you expect that from others, that's actually what others expect from you also. And so let's go ahead as we get a little bit deeper. So we've been talking about experiences, et cetera, and perspectives. So when we talk about making a strong community stronger, and specifically here, the mainframe industry, let's get very specific about diversity, equity, inclusion. And can you give each panelist, give an example of something that you think would be successful to implement in this industry? And then give an example of like where you saw this work. So either someone can jump in or we'll start with you, Shannon.
Yeah, I certainly believe in broaden your pipeline, your talent pipeline, to tap into underrepresented groups, because it certainly helps, and it's not just a marketing or feel good activity, right? You have to have the mentality that in order to drive the performance of the team, you need to increase your talent pool to different communities that are essentially untapped in many cases, right? And that mindset, going back to what Dr. Bullock said earlier, it can't be tied to hey, I'm trying to hit a number, or hey, this is a handout. I think as a leader, you're doing yourself a disservice and the organization, the company you work for, a disservice if you're not intentionally looking for talent in those areas. So I think those partnerships with HBCUs are great, but you have to have the right mindset as far as this is a essential pipeline of talent that I could be tapping into.
Where have you seen this pipeline work specifically?
I would say specifically, I'm a big advocate of the Year Up program. Is Year Up, and they've been very active in working with my company, New York Life, as far as identified talent, and I personally have hired a couple people through that pipeline of underrepresented groups, and again, when you do that, not only do you get the talent, but you're able to create a network of people who may not have access to folks to talk to, like I described about myself earlier, where I almost felt alone, but I had to I had to reach out and find others with my experiences, with my experience or similar to my experience, that gave me the tools I needed to be successful. Some people, there are many people that don't have those challenges. They go in and people, they're automatically comfortable because they see people that look like them, talk like them, listen to the same type of music as them, right? So conversations are fluid, much more fluid. And for me, and for others, I'm sure there may be a challenge to again feel like they belong and create that rapport.
Yeah, thank you. And Year Up, YEAR Up, right, is the group you mentioned.
Yeah, YEAR Up. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Who else?
Yeah,
Chance, if I can jump in.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to piggyback on what Chinedu said on like the importance of employing a diverse group. I feel like it brings in a different perspective because if we're real, the clients or customers that are patronizing our organization are from a diverse, group. So having a team that is from different background, different culture, different, bringing different perspective and ways of thinking that would better help the organization. And like I also said initially, or maybe I've not said it, but talking more about it, it also helps. Like this panel, is a good one, educating more people on the needs for diversity, equity, inclusion, and also belonging. It's important. And I would say finally that celebrating the different cultures in the team would help create that inclusion. I remember my previous employer, Aaron's Tech, we had a day where we celebrated the different cultures in the team. We got to bring our meals and share it together. We'll learn about the different cultures in the team. I got to learn that my manager was Jamaican. She learned that I was African. I got her an African attire because she liked it a lot. So I feel like that kind of brings that inclusion even in a diverse group so that people that are different from you don't feel like they cannot understand you. Because I feel like for me, other than Broadcom, I feel like it has helped me to also, Broadcom, that's the program I went through that helped me to see things from a different perspective. I also saw that, I can make a difference. I can be the change I want to see by making other people feel like they belong and they're included.
Very good. Yeah.
And Dr. Chance, what I was going to jump in and say was I'm a product of these programs working. In fact, Dr. Bullock actually mentioned it. I am a product of the IBM Academic Initiative Program. I attended University of Maryland Eastern Shore where the program was running. And at the time, there was a gentleman who was an executive consultant by the name of John Thompson, who was an ex-IBM and who was a consultant between technology, leaders and vice presidents, et cetera, and academic institutions. So he was the middleman per se. So because John came in and kind of gave us the real talk of, hey, I've been in the industry, this is a great opportunity for you guys to be exposed to the mainframe, that's kind of what drew me in. And in fact, I'm gonna share something with you guys. I was never, I never thought I would be in this industry. And the reason is because I never had the grades. I never had anything, but what I realized was one piece of advice that I learned from an IBMer when I got there. He's retired. His name is Mikey Brown. I said, Mikey, why do you guys like me? Why did I get chosen? Yes, I love the mainframe. I'm a systems programmer. Early on, he said, Byron, we like you because of you. You're being yourself. You're not a 4.0 student. You're not calling every executive. You're asking people general questions. Hey, did you catch that baseball game yesterday? How did you like this? Yes, I'm from Baltimore. I love this, etc. So it was like, because I had these soft skills of being communicated and having a great conversation with people that people liked, that gave me confidence to do it more. And in fact, that helped me again at M&T. Even becoming an IBM champion at M&T, I met the CEO because I reached out to him. We established a relationship. I reached out asking general questions. How are you? How was your day?
So the
what
power,
keeps you up at night?
the power of the soft skills. And if you follow me, I talk about the soft skills being the new hard skills. And so that's really profound, Byron. And also, I think the audience, what you're hearing is a theme, and that you too can be was it Mike Brown or whoever? You can be the IBM person who helped Brian. You could be the people who have been in Nicole's and Shanadoo's lives and Dr. Bullock's lives, who have taken upon themselves to show people the ropes, to support them genuinely. So this isn't really rocket science. You can approach this in a lot of different ways. And hopefully what you're hearing from the panelists are ways that you can engage. If you could in the chat, if you're hearing some things that you're excited about, if someone said something that is important to you about what you can go out and start doing today, why don't you share it with us in the chat? So go ahead, Dr. Bullock. Oh, you want to finish, Brian? I'm sorry.
One quick thing I want to add in there. I think, to highlight this, and Dr. Bullock he knows him as well. There's another gentleman who works with John Thompson. He do the same thing, and that's Dr. Cameron Shea, who's also a fellow IBM champion. So as you can see, I was connected to John Thompson, who was working at Tennessee State and University of Maryland Eastern Shore, who was connected to Dr. Shea, who was at ECU and North Carolina A&T, and now Dr. Bullock. So again, look at the people who are taking time out of their day on the side of their desk saying, you know what, let me help these students get into this organization. The only reason I got here is because I wanted to be here, because I was not going to not try. And a lot of people are so strong on, oh, I'm going to fail. But here's the reality that I've realized in this industry in general. Failure is a prerequisite to success. If you do not fail, you will not succeed. And it's not fear that you have, it's resistance. If you understand resistance, you'll understand how we need to move further.
All right, so that's a whole nother topic, and thank you so much for that, Byron. Dr. Bullock, what do you say in the experience that you have had with an example of what would be helpful?
Training, education, mentorships, allyships across the companies. One thing I am going to give you an example of, and this is something that IBM did, and when I was first starting off in the mainframe and learning the mainframe space, I actually got free training to go all the way to Poughkeepsie, New York, and that's one of our partners with IBM. And they offered training, and they have different training that you can just sign up, and they offer it all free to the instructors. So that was a plus. They took their time out, and it was companies there getting trained, and I was the only one from academia getting trained as well. So it's they have so much, the sky's the limit, opportunities for training. So yes, that's where you reach the mark, because if you get the instructors trained, then the students will be trained.
So training, reaching out, supporting people, allowing people to be who they are, and like kind of spilling some inside information, because I don't know about you guys, but we all know that, there's policy and then there's what really goes on. And I think if you want people to belong, and don't think that people don't see that those things are happening, give them tips about how things really work so that they can also not just be a part, but there's a benefit to building networks, even for you as a leader. So as we start to wrap up, from a personal standpoint, there's never enough time to talk about all of this, but we talk about the attributes of belonging, being respected, and feeling that you're connected to a group, and feeling a sense of not being alone. But we know that in the initial conversation that there is and continues to be a feeling of aloneness on this journey, especially being a person of color. So what would you all say to your allies, for people who want to be allies on the Making a Strong Community Stronger? We talk about allyship a lot, and that really means that people who want to help, and we had a similar question before about the mainframe industry, but what I'm asking now specifically is based on, and I want you to call out and speak to a specific thing related to being lonely that you would like an individual to maybe go out and do on an individual basis with either their employees or friends that they have like you, that could make a big difference. So when you think about this, when you pause and think about your journey, what would you say as a human being on a human personal level? What would you like to see allies do to help others feel that they belong, that they can belong, that they can start to belong so that they can increase their performance, so that they can, because obviously when you're more comfortable, you have better outcomes, better performance, which means long-term for the company that they're going to perform better. But what are the personal things that you would say to allies that they should do and offer?
I can go first. So I'm going to say that we should, or they should, that's our allies, should keep seeking to learn. I feel like we should never stop learning about diversity and, the differences that we have in our teams and in tech. I feel like it's a subject that we always have to learn how to be better at. And diversity is not only in cultures, it's in personality, it's in academic grades and, professionalism. And it's like there is this hierarchy that we might have that a director is better than an associate, and we can carry that and disregard the comments or opinions of an associate from that of a director. So it goes really broader than if we can allow it. It's really broader than we can actually discuss on this call. But I feel like we should be open to learn, welcome feedback, welcome a different perspective, listen to understand, because a diverse group will include diverse perspective. So it's okay not to agree with everything, but understand where they're coming from. I feel like that itself is honoring. Like I've said before, employ a diverse group will help to kill the bias that many people in the team individually carry, because every one of us have a stereotypical thinking, whether we like it or not. But when we're in a diverse group, it helps kill that bias, because you're walking with someone and you're like, wow, I thought all Asians are serious-minded, but you're actually a fun to be with person, And finally, celebrating the diverse cultures in the team would also help the team, feel included. So that's what I was
true.
saying.
So Nicole, thank you for that. So what would you, if someone in the audience said, okay, but how would I even start? Like if someone in the audience wanted to approach you to help you feel more belonging, what would you tell them to say to you? What would you recommend that they say?
I think for me, yeah, sure. I feel like I'm a very open-minded person. And so when people come to me and just seek to learn about me, wanting to know what makes Nicole, I'm always really willing to engage in conversation to learn about that person. I'm very introverted, but I'm relational. And for me, it's like I can tell when someone is not really seeking to understand, but just, trying to just have a conversation just to have a conversation. And for me, I feel like if we employ that even in the business world, in tech, I want to have a conversation with my manager, with my team members, and know that they understand where I'm coming from, even if I get like, well, we're not going to proceed with this, but I get where you're coming from. It's a great idea. Don't just say it because you want to say it, but you can relate to that perspective. And I feel like it takes a lot of listening, a lot of taking ourselves off our perspective to really understand, what birthed for that perspective.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's keep it moving. What would you say, Shannon, do about, what's your loneliness recommendation?
For me, I would take again that manager leadership hat and say it ultimately lands on their laps as far as creating an environment where people, don't feel lonely, and where people can feel like they belong. And the challenge that I have, or maybe the concern, I'm still a bit, cautiously optimistic in where we're going, because now I've been in this industry for over 15 years, and I would say it's been disappointing not to see the level of change that I was hoping to see in that time frame, from a equity and diversity standpoint. And just haven't seen the improvements, even though we've been talking about it. Quite frankly, we've been talking about it for quite some time, and this isn't just one individual company. This is across the entire industry. And so I think as leaders, we have to hold ourselves accountable, right? We have to hold ourselves accountable to the misses over the years. And I do understand the challenges we face externally. Now I think it's more difficult. Now you have this, reverse racism push that's going on when you start targeting, certain groups. And to me, that's unfortunate because there hasn't been much gains to a point to even find that to be a substantive issue, right? So I think as leaders, we need to hold ourselves accountable as far as who are we developing, who are we choosing to be our next set of leaders, how are we identify talent, where the pipelines are, and say, enough is enough. Let's if you're not doing what you're supposed to do as far as developing people and building diverse teams, then maybe you're not the right leader.
Wow, Shandu, you said a lot. On a personal note, what do you say to leaders that you would need, a person like you would need if they wanted to be an ally?
Sorry, my headset was breaking up.
So on a personal note, what belonging means being connected, feeling well respected, valued, supported. What would you say to leaders on a personal note that you need? Very briefly.
For me personally, needing to be belong is part of the, driving the solution, right? For a lot of, I think, regardless of your race, you want to be part of the solution. You don't want someone to say, hey, do this, do X, Y, and Z. And, however you can, however you think and experiences you might bring to the equation is irrelevant. I need you to do X. Quickly shows that you don't value their opinion, their viewpoint. So for me personally, bringing me into that problem solving so that I can be part of that solution. So that drives the feeling of belongingness, right? And ultimately, I can bring a different perspective, which is the whole. I think one of the biggest value of a diverse team.
Thank you so much. So Dr. Bullock, and then we'll go to Byron as we're starting to close out. What would you say?
So being the only one doesn't bother me because I grew up being the only one, basically. Having the strength and knowing your purpose was a great thing for me, but I don't want to feel uncomfortable when people don't know how to talk to me or feel that they have to change when they're talking to me to make you feel better about being the only one. Educate yourself on others' cultures. And that's something that one of the panelists already said, educate yourself on others' cultures and don't be offensive to their culture by not knowing. And don't over accommodate. We're human too. No specialness is needed. Please continue to stay with the facts.
Yeah, I think that being real, almost coming and saying, look, I knew I was coming to an HBCU. I did some research, I asked people, but I still don't know. So forgive me as I stumble upon whatever, but I want to know. I'm here to learn, etc., is really what all people have to say. Because again, we have to realize in this country that a lot of people of color, we have always been accommodating and learning what the traditional culture is like. And so we've had a level of respect for the existing cultures that I think what you're saying, Dr. Bullock, is you just want the same in return, that you're just a human being, a person with a job, and just do that, be that. Thank you. Byron, bring us home.
I'll say this. We've all seen the story Hidden Figures. We all seen how Kevin Costner and Taraji P. Henson came together and put on one awesome historical movie. But the one thing I like about the movie that a lot of people don't understand is the mainframe was involved with putting someone on the moon. So as we sit back and engage and talk about the mainframe and sitting here trying to attract and retain, students and professionals, and also keep in mind diversity, inclusion, belonging efforts to amplify our community, I looked at the movie and said, wait a minute, we're trying to solve something but it's so simple. And if we take Hidden Figures, what did Al Harrison do for the first systems program, who was a woman who helped put a man on the moon? He took a risk and gave her the opportunity to show and prove herself. It was a women or women who helped put a man on the moon by working with IBM and NASA. So as you can see, everything is connecting now. Taking risk, give someone an opportunity to help. And as I bring this home, I think one of the statements that will help us moving forward with actually doing something is something that was dear to me that kind of was a little disheartening, honestly, Dr. Chance and everyone. During my first time trying to get a job, fresh out of school, it was kind of interesting, not having the experience as much as that they wanted. But I was hungry, I was ready, I wanted to do anything to get in the industry. But the problem that I had was I could not find the mainframe job. And why is that? Because the job descriptions did not match at all. This is a conversation that I've had with colleagues of mine who I consider my board of directors, but I've had conversations about this. So one thing I think we can do as an action today, change job descriptions to match what we're exactly trying to do. If I am trying to be a mainframe security engineer, I should not be looking at, you have to look at Microsoft Word to do X, Y, and Z. Yes, that's technical documentation, you learn that. But try to align your job titles with what you need someone to do. And in fact, an easier way to say it, hire based on character and motive and not just skills. Because skills can be taught, but character and motive cannot. And that's what I have.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone has enjoyed this dialogue, and thank you for those who've made comments in the chat. Remember that when you want to feel that you belong, you feel, or when you want someone else to feel that they belong, you help them feel connected to others, supported, respected, valued, trusted, listened to, and appreciated. On behalf of the mainframe industry, again, I'm Dr. Gloria Chance, and I disrupt thinking for good. On behalf of our sponsors, partners, Broadcom, Mainframe Software, IBM, Rocket Software, Virtual Z Computing, Tech Channel, and the Open Mainframe Project, we are so happy that you joined us today. And we got a couple of exciting things coming up that we want to share with you. We want you to join us tomorrow at our town hall from 9 to 10 Pacific time, where we can continue this conversation. This is an anonymous conversation. You can come, be off camera, change your name. We just want to hear your voice. Also join our new LinkedIn group. Like, share, and follow us. Making a Strong Community Stronger on LinkedIn is now live. Also, there's even more. We're going to be live at Share in Texas on March 29th at 7 p.m. local time. We want to celebrate, get to meet you, do a meet and greet. So please, if you're a part of Share and joining, come and spend time with us. And then last but not least, please join us in our next panel on July 27th, which is going to be about diversity you can't see. We're going to talk about the neurodiverse world around ADHD, dyslexia, autism, and other types of diversity you can't see. And we want to continue this collaborative initiative and help learn more about you. So feel free to reach out to our Tech Channel Senior Editor, Kelia Estrada Moeller, KMOELLER at techchannels.com to share your insight. And be on the lookout for a social media campaign about other activities that Making Our Strong Community Stronger will be participating in coming up soon. So again, on behalf of the panelists, Byron, Nicole, Shannon Dew, Dr. Bullock, and I'm Dr. Gloria Chance, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time on Making a Strong Community Stronger Community. Thank you all again, and we hope to see you tomorrow at our town hall.